Good morning, beautiful students. You're welcome to your basic science class. In our last class, we treated nutrition and diseases, but we were not able to elucidate all that we needed to deal with in that particular class. And so in this period, we are going to go further in trying to explain nutrition and diseases, with the subtopic nutritional deficiencies and effects, part 2. Nutritional deficiencies and effects, part 2. And I hope you are handy with your writing materials as we go on to discuss some other nutritional deficiencies and their effects. Before we continue, we are going to deal first and foremost with our specific objectives. At the end of this class, I should be able to state some nutritional deficiencies and diseases, mention their symptoms and their effects, discuss their treatment and prevention, mention their symptoms and their effect. After, we're going to mention some of these diseases that are caused as a result of some nutritional deficiencies. We are going to be treating the nutritional deficiencies of some of the vitamins we could not handle in our previous lesson, and also the deficiencies caused by lack of carbohydrate and some other mineral elements. We'll use this opportunity to treat them, and going forward, we'll treat the other ones subsequently, because this is a vast topic. Now, according to our specific objective, we are supposed to be able, at the end of it all, to state these ones I've mentioned for today's topic: lack of things like vitamin D and vitamin E. Then you're supposed to also state the nutritional deficiencies and diseases that accompany lack of carbohydrates and some other minerals like calcium, phosphorus, and the rest of them. Now let's get on with the vitamins. Let's conclude on the vitamins, as we are going to see in this slide. Lack of vitamin D causes a disease called rickets. It causes this disease called rickets, which is a very terrible disease. And what are the symptoms of rickets? The symptoms include generally what is known as skeletal deformities. Skeletal deformities. In other words, from the word go, skeletal deformities, it affects the skeletal framework of an organism. In this particular case, we are dealing with humans. And so the skeletal form of a human being is deformed, is put in a different shape other than the normal shape of the skeleton, and in such a case you're going to have a deformed human being. Starting from childhood, if a child begins to lack vitamin D, is a terrible thing. It can deform the child's skeletal system. It can even affect the limbs, the lower limbs, in forming what is known as the bow leg or the K leg, which is not good. Now, how does this vitamin D affect the skeleton? Because vitamin D strengthens the skeleton. It helps in strengthening it. It helps in its deposition of calcium. But when it is not there, the bones become softened. Instead of becoming hard, they become softened. And under pressure, the bone can take a different shape. Under the weight of the body, the bone takes a different shape. Let's go on still with the symptoms that accompany lack of vitamin D. We mentioned skeletal deformities. What are these skeletal deformities? Depression of the rib bones, causing what is known as the pigeon chest. Now, in this particular symptom, the rib bones are so soft that they cannot be strong enough to carry the weight of the chest region. And as a result, it is depressed inside. The pressure makes it to be inward in appearance. and it will not take the normal shape of the chest of a human being. It will be depressed, and when you look at a patient that is suffering from lack of vitamin D, mostly in children, the chest region is somehow depressed because of the rib cage. It is no longer strong as the bone of a human being is supposed to be. We'll still see some of these patients and the symptoms, how it occurs in their body. The next one is deformity of the lower limbs. The lower limbs, talking about the legs, is going to deform the bones, and because of the weight of the body, is either the bone goes into a bow-shaped leg or a K-shaped leg. That is another deformity that can occur. And if care is not taken, it can be permanent as the child grows up. But early treatment can correct it. And so deformities of the lower limb, the bow leg and the K leg, they are part of the symptoms of lack of vitamin D. The other one is enlarged joints. The joints will be unusually enlarged, as we are going to be seeing in some of the pictures we have here to portray some of these things we are telling you. Now, the next slide is going to show you a child that is suffering from lack of vitamin D, which is causing the disease rickets. Let's look at this child on the screen. As you can see, the child, starting from the head region, there will be the effect of stunted growth. Then the forehead is going to be protruded, large forehead, unusually large. Not according to the natural size of the forehead, it will be enlarged unusually, and as a result of that, it will form an abnormal shape in front of the head of such a child. Another thing is that the ribs, if you look at the rib of this child as it is on your screen, it is somehow caved inwards. It is not coming outward, and that is what is known as the pigeon chest. Also, the joints here will be enlarged. If you can look at the joint of this child, you find out that the joints are enlarged, as you can see on your screen. Then the tummy is going to be unusually large, protruded, as if the person is suffering from kwashiorkor. Remember in our last class when we treated kwashiorkor as being the disease caused by lack of protein, that part of the symptoms is that the stomach is unusually enlarged. Also, in lack of vitamin D, there is unusual enlargement of the stomach region, the abdominal region. Now, the next thing you can see in this child is that the legs are not straightened as it's supposed to be. It is abnormally in a bow shaped, and that is what is called the bow leg. The bones are so wide, they are not well jointed as they are supposed to be at the joints. They begin to have gaps, which now creates the bow leg. But on the opposite of it, it can go to the K-shaped dimension, all because of lack of vitamin D. There is also the widening of the ankles. It also affects the child. The bones are unusually shaped. Why? Like I told you, lack of vitamin D causes the bone to be soft instead of being hard due to lack of deposition of calcium in the bone. And so these are some of the things, some of the major symptoms that the child is going to suffer from. As you see, the child well deformed, skeletal deformity. Now, the next slide is going to show you actually a patient that is suffering, and that is a child too, suffering from that issue of pigeon chest as a result of lack of vitamin D. If you look at your screen, you will see that the child's chest is somehow inward. It is not with the normal shape of a human chest. The ribs are inward. They are so soft, they can't be enlarged, they can't come out to protect in a protective manner to protect the thoracic cavity. That is the chest region where you have the heart and the lungs and part of the liver being in this region. Now it is inward, and by this kind of shape is going to affect the positions and the functions of both the heart and the lungs. So lack of vitamin D, this is part of the symptoms of rickets, which is pigeon chest. Now the next slide is going to show you the bow leg I told you about, or the K-leg that it can cause. The popular ones we know, the K-legs and the bow legs. Now look at this child on the left side of your screen. You can see that the legs are not straightened. They are in a bow shape. And then for this particular patient, the patient is also suffering from K-leg as a result of lack of vitamin D. So lack of vitamin D causes all these deformities, skeletal deformities. All right? Now, this is another shape that the skeletal structure of a child can take when he or she lacks vitamin D. The deficiency of vitamin D during skeletal development causes rickets, disease in which the bone tissues doesn't properly mineralize, leading to soft bones and skeletal deformities. Remember what I told you, that it will not allow calcium to be well deposited in the bones, and that is the cause of this softness of bone and then the deformity of the skeletal system. Let's go on to the next vitamin that its deficiency can cause another deformity in the human body, and that is vitamin E. Lack of vitamin E, this causes the following symptoms: nerve and muscle damages. Now remember, before I go on with these symptoms, remember in our previous class, in our previous lesson, I told you that you should be serious with this particular topic because it affects your life as an individual and it affects the lives of those around you. You can advise people around you on how to eat balanced diet and to avoid all these deformities and deficiencies and their likes and what they cause in the human body. Now, look at the first symptom of lack of vitamin E. There is nerve and muscle damages. You can imagine in a human being, when you have nerve and muscle damages, the person will lack the following things. There will be weaknesses of the legs and the arms. There is also loss of movement control. The person will no longer have control of the movement of the different parts of his body because of lack of vitamin E. The next one is impaired vision. It can impair the vision of somebody. The person will not be seen clearly. Remember in our previous class, we talked about lack of vitamin A causing what is known as night blindness. And night blindness, when it is in severe deficiency, that is vitamin A, when the person is lacking vitamin A in such an extreme dimension, it can lead to blindness. Now, this is another vitamin that if one lacks, it can also cause some vision impairment. The person will not be seeing very well. Now, another one is gastrointestinal diseases. It can cause some indigestion in the patient when the person is lacking vitamin E. Then one of the fatal effects of vitamin E occurs in pregnant women. Any pregnant woman that lacks vitamin E can suffer what is known as reoccurring or recurring abortions. That means the person might have miscarriages. Before the baby is ready to be born, the baby might be miscarried. It can occur in form of abortion, and the person will be wondering what is happening. Some of them, most of the time, are caused due to lack of vitamin E. And then another one is it can cause infertility. The inability of a woman to take in, to conceive. These things are the extreme measures that can occur in a human being or in a woman per se that is lacking vitamin E. Let's take a look in some of these symptoms. If you look at on your screen, you can see some of the symptoms depicted there. The first one says slow tissue healing. When there is injury also, there is slow healing process. The healing process does not occur as it's supposed to due to lack of vitamin E. So vitamin E also aids the process of healing. from injuries. The next one is loss of hair. You can see the hair of this particular patient on your screen. The patient is gradually losing a great quantity of the hairs on the head. And before you know it, the entire head will be lost if this man does not go back to sufficiently taking meals that contain vitamin E. The next person is the person that is suffering from gastrointestinal defect. This individual is not having the ability to digest what he or she has eaten. The next one is where you have a patient suffering from muscle cramps. So these things affect all these different parts of the body and make the person to be unable to carry out normal activities that a healthy human being can carry out. So these are some of the symptoms of lack of vitamin E. Another part of it is that the skin becomes dry and scaly. When somebody lacks vitamin E, the skin, as you can see on your screen, the skin becomes dry and scaly. These and so many other ones are the symptoms when somebody is lacking vitamin E. The next one we have to talk about is lack of carbohydrates. Carbohydrate is one of the major contents of a balanced meal, and when it is not in place, the following abnormal conditions can occur in that person. Number one abnormal condition when there is lack of carbohydrate is what is known as ketosis. The person will suffer from what is known as ketosis. I will explain these things in the next slide. The next abnormal condition that can occur when there is lack of carbohydrate is protein depletion. And the next one is called hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is low blood sugar. Let's start with ketosis. Remember, these things are lack of carbohydrates, the deficiencies of carbohydrate, what it can cause in the body. The first one, which is ketosis. What does it mean? It means partial breakdown of fats and oil. In our previous class, I told you people that from fats and oil, carbohydrate can also be gotten in the human body. When the body is lacking carbohydrate, it can visit the fats and oil stored in the body and begin to break it down in order to convert it to energy chemical compounds. And when this happens, most of these fats and oil are not properly broken down. They will yield to chemical substances that are acidic in nature called ketones. These ketones, being acidic, when there are many in the bloodstream, they begin to cause imbalance in the osmotic content of the blood. And that would lead to a lot of abnormal conditions in the body. So that is ketosis, the partial breakdown of fats and oil as a result of low carbohydrates. The next abnormal condition is what is known as protein depletion, the breakdown of protein. Now, when the carbohydrate is so low in the human body, the protein content can be visited by the body metabolism and it will begin to be broken down. And you know that protein is not necessary for energy supply. Protein is there for body repair, tissue repair, and growth. And so if protein should leave its primary function of growth and tissue repair and be used for energy supply, then the person will suffer from protein deficiency. And so that is what condition of protein depletion can cause when somebody is in low carbohydrate. The next one is what is called hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia simply means low sugar content of the blood. And wherever there is low sugar content of the blood, a lot of things go wrong. First and foremost, the person can become dizzy. The next one, there is low supply of sugar to the brain, which will also cause the brain to perform below function. In extreme cases, it can even lead to death when there is low sugar in the blood. Let's see some of the symptoms of this low sugar in the blood. First and foremost, there is the fatigue of the body. That is extreme tiredness. The person will be so tired, cannot do things. Trembling. You find out that when you have low sugar in your body, when you're so hungry, your body begins to tremble. You can't stand firmly. You can't hold things very well. Your body begins to tremble. The next one is nausea. The next one is confusion. You cannot be able to articulate things very well. Headache backs it up. There is also dehydration that backs it up. In extreme conditions, like I told you, the person will go into coma due to loss of carbohydrate in the body. And if care is not taken from that coma, it can result to death due to lack of sugar in the blood as a result of carbohydrate deficiency. So carbohydrate deficiency can cause a lot of harm to the body. Quickly, let's take a look at some other mineral deficiencies that can occur in the body. In a nutshell, lack of iron in the human body can cause what is called anemia. Anemia is lack of blood, lack of sufficient blood. And what is lacking there in the blood is the red blood cells. And you know that the red blood cells supply oxygen. It helps to transport oxygen from the lungs to every part of the body. So when there is lack of iron to help the red blood cells to be formed, the person will lack sufficient blood. And as a result, the person is going to be deficient in a lot of physiological activities that go on in the body. The next mineral that can cause problem if it is in its deficiency is calcium. Calcium can cause what is known as hypoglycemia. Low calcium in the blood, like we saw in the case of rickets, due to lack of vitamin D, it can cause a lot of deformities in the bone and also in the dentition. That is the teeth formation. A lot of abnormalities are going to occur there. Poor dentition is going to be there, and so many other things that will occur to the skeletal system that will not augur well with the human body. And it can also cause what is known as osteoporosis, which is the causing of the bone to become brittle. It can easily break, just like something that's like a breakable plate. That's how the bone is going to turn into osteoporosis due to lack of calcium. The next one is lack of magnesium, which will also cause infertility and poor growth. And then also we have phosphorus. When phosphorus is lacking in the human body, it can cause almost the same symptoms as the lack of calcium causes in the body. Now, these are some of the minerals that if they are in their deficiency in the human body, they can cause all these things that you can see on your screen. And all these things are part of the diseases that some of these deficiencies can cause. Now, I know that in our previous class and this one that you have learned a lot concerning nutritional deficiencies and their diseases. And that's why you should take your balanced meals serious on daily basis. And in some of the ways of preventing these deficiencies is to make sure that on daily basis you're eating balanced meal. A lot of your meals should contain fresh vegetables, fruits, and fresh meats. Like the liver oil from fishes and the rest of them, they contain a lot of vitamin E, a lot of vitamin C, even vitamin A, your butter, your cheese, your fresh vegetables like pumpkins and green vegetables contain a lot of these vitamin Bs, the B complex, and the rest of them. Even in vitamin C, your oranges, the fruits you take. So make sure you eat natural things. Avoid processed food. They lack a lot in most of these vital nutrients that you need. Avoid processed meals. All these meals they sell in shopping malls that they have removed a lot of nutrients from. Avoid them. Go for fresh things, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. They contain a lot of what you need for your balanced diet. I hope next time we meet, you'll be in a better position to also educate people around you concerning nutritional deficiencies and their diseases. Thank you. We've come to the end of this class, and I want to thank you for participating. God bless you.